chosen one. Yes, you. The one who went quiet in a room that needed you loud, and then watched a word get pinned to your name in your absence. A word with an edge on it. A word you would never in your life have chosen for yourself. Before we begin, do something for me. Sit down. Wherever you are, find a place where your back has something to rest against. Put your phone face down, not away, not off, just face down, so nothing can flicker at you while we talk. Unclench your jaw. You probably didn't notice you were holding it. Most chosen ones don't. Now breathe all the way out. Not halfway, all the way, until there's nothing left, and let the next breath come on its own. Good. That's the chosen one I'm speaking to. Now listen, because this message found you for a reason. Somewhere recently, in a room you can still picture, you said less than everyone expected. Maybe you didn't defend yourself when the moment seemed to demand it. Maybe you let a comment pass that a year ago you would have chased down and corrected line by line. Maybe you simply stopped showing up to the argument, stopped explaining the decision, stopped narrating your own life to people who were never really listening in the first place. And then you noticed something in the days after. A word had started to follow you around. You could feel it in the way they looked at you now. Arrogant, full of himself, thinks she's above us these days, too good for the rest of us all of a sudden. Changed, and not in a way they liked. Nobody said it to your face, they almost never do. But you felt the story assemble itself in the air around your name, and the story had a villain in it, and the villain was wearing your coat. So here's the first thing I want you to understand, chosen one, and I need you to sit with it before we move 1 inch further. They are reading your silence as arrogance. And that misread, that lazy, convenient, completely wrong misread, is quietly working entirely in your favor. You don't feel that yet. Right now it just stings. Right now it feels like an injustice you have to correct, a fire you have to put out. We are going to take that instinct apart tonight, piece by piece, until you can see what it actually is and who it actually serves. Because here is what the misread really is. It is a wrong key, cut for the wrong lock, being tried over and over by people who are certain they already know the shape of you. And here is the mercy hidden inside that, the thing nobody will tell you. The wrong key never turns. Imagine this. A person sits down with a book written in a language they never studied. They don't know that. They think they can read it. So they look at the shapes on the page, and they recognize a letter here, a mark there, something that rhymes with a word they know. And they begin to read out loud with total confidence. And the story they tell is fluent, and it is detailed, and it is completely invented. It is not on the page at all. Everyone listening assumes the reader knows the language, because who would read aloud so confidently if they didn't? And the whole time, the actual sentence, the real one, sits there on the paper untouched, unread, saying something entirely different to anyone who could actually read it. That is what happened to your silence. They looked at a page they cannot read, and they read arrogance, because arrogance was the only word in their vocabulary that fit the shape. And they said it out loud, fluently, confidently, and the room believed them. And the real sentence, the true reason you went quiet, is still sitting there on the page, unread, protected by the very fact that they were so sure they already understood it. If any of this is landing, do one thing for me before we go deeper. Hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. Not for me. This message doesn't travel on its own. It moves by hand, one person at a time, and every like puts it in front of somebody else who is sitting in the dark right now, with a word pinned to their name that they didn't choose, wondering if they have to spend the rest of their life apologizing for going quiet. Pay it forward to the mission, then come right back, because it gets deeper from here. Now, let's talk about why they reached for that word, chosen one. Arrogance. Of all the words available, why that one? Because it is the cheapest one on the shelf. Because it is the one word that costs them nothing and costs you everything. Think about the other explanations that were sitting right there, the true ones they walked straight past. That your silence might be grief, that it might be exhaustion, the bone-deep kind, from years of carrying a thing they never helped you carry. That you might have finally run out of the energy it takes to keep explaining yourself to people who had already decided. That you might have outgrown the version of you they were comfortable with. That you might, quietly, be building something that has nothing to do with them at all. Every one of those explanations would have required something from them. Grief would have required their sympathy. Exhaustion would have required them to ask what they'd been putting on you. Outgrowing them would have required them to look at themselves. But arrogance requires nothing. Arrogance puts the whole weight back on you. It says, he didn't change because we failed him. He changed because he thinks he's better than us now. And just like that, they are innocent again, and you are the problem. And nobody has to look in a mirror. Here is the line they can't say out loud. They didn't call it arrogance because it was true. They called it arrogance because it was the only story that let them off the hook. So no, chosen one, you did not misread the room. You read it perfectly. You simply declined to perform in it, and a room that has lost its performer will always call the empty stage a betrayal. The wrong key never turns, and they have chosen the wrongest key there is, because it is the one that lets them keep their hands clean. Now I want to widen this out, because this does not only happen to you, and seeing the shape of it in other places will help you stop taking it personally. This happens everywhere ordinary people gather and quietly assign each other roles. The costumes change, the mechanism never does. Picture the workplace. You stop over-contributing in the meeting. You used to fill every silence, volunteer for everything, explain your reasoning 3 times to make sure everyone was comfortable. Then one day, you just do your work and let it speak, and you stop narrating. And within a week, the read is in the air. He's checked out. She thinks she's too senior for this now. He's got an attitude lately. Not because you did anything, because you stopped doing the anxious thing they had mistaken for enthusiasm. Your calm competence, offered without a performance wrapped around it, reads to them as contempt. Picture the family. You stopped defending your choices at the dinner table. You used to argue, justify, lay out the whole reasoning until somebody nodded. Now, when the old comment comes, you just let it sit there and you pass the potatoes. And by the drive home, the verdict has formed. He thinks he's better than where he came from. She's forgotten who raised her. Too important to argue with us now. The truth that you simply stopped bleeding on command never even gets considered. Picture the friend group. You stop chasing the plans. You stop being the one who texts first, smooths it over, keeps the thread alive single-handedly. And the silence you leave gets read instantly as ego. He's got new friends now. She thinks she's outgrown us. Too busy for the people who were there when he had nothing. The exhaustion that actually pulled you back, the quiet accounting you did of who was really reciprocal, none of that makes it into the story. Picture the wider world, the acquaintances who only ever knew the loud version of you. They see the stillness and can't imagine it as depth, because depth was never in the frame they had of you. So they fill the gap with the nearest ugly word: arrogance, coldness, attitude, a big head. Same misread, 4 different rooms, and every single time the true reason walks by unrecognized, wearing a name it never answered to. 4 rooms, 1 structure. Every time a person goes quiet for a real reason, and a crowd that needs them noisy assigns the quiet the one meaning that requires the least of them. Imagine this: a guard dog that has barked at the fence every day for years finally stops barking. It doesn't stop because it got weak. It stops because it finally learned which sounds are threats and which are just the wind. But the neighbors who got used to the barking don't know that. They just notice the quiet, and they decide the dog has gotten arrogant or lazy, or that it thinks it owns the whole street now. They tell each other the dog changed, and the dog, meanwhile, is simply standing there having learned the one thing that took it years to learn: the difference between a real intruder and a passing breeze. The silence they resent is not decline, it is mastery. But you cannot see mastery from outside the fence. From out there, all learned silence looks like pride. That is you, chosen one. You learned which fights are the wind, and the people still barking at the wind cannot forgive you for stopping. Which brings us to the part you actually came here for, not the comfort, the breakdown. Because comfort fades by morning, but understanding stays. I am going to lay out for you, piece by piece, exactly what this misread is doing on their side while it sits there looking like an insult on yours. 12 pieces, in order, so you can recognize each one while you are standing inside it. But first, this is the part of the video where the road forks. Some of you clicked because the title caught your eye, and that's fine. You're welcome here, truly. But in the next 30 seconds, the merely curious are going to drift off. They'll feel this stop being general and start being specific, and specific is uncomfortable when it lands too close. So they'll go. Let them go. It was never going to be for everyone. And the rest of you, the ones this was actually made for, are going to do the opposite. You're going to get still. Because you already feel that we are about to name the thing you've been carrying without words for longer than you'd admit. So here is what I'm asking. If you're locked in, if this is landing where you live, drop 777 in the comments. Not for luck, not because it's a trend, not because 3 digits on a screen change anything about your circumstances. They don't. Those numbers are a signal, nothing more. A hand raised in a dark room so the other people sitting quietly in it can see they are not the only one who got called arrogant for finally choosing peace. You'll be surprised how many hands go up. Now let's begin. Number 1. The word arrived without you. You weren't in the room when your name got its new coat. That is the first thing to understand, and it is the strangest one. The word did not come from you, and it did not come to you. It assembled itself in your absence, in conversations you weren't part of, out of a silence you left behind like a shape in wet sand. You went quiet. You walked out of a dynamic, and the space you vacated didn't stay empty. People filled it. They always fill it. Human beings cannot tolerate an unexplained silence, so they poured an explanation into it, and the explanation they chose was the one that took the least effort to pour. Understand the mechanics of it. Your silence was a blank, and a blank is the most dangerous thing you can hand to people who already have a low opinion of themselves, because they will fill that blank with whatever they are most afraid is true. If they suspect, somewhere underneath, that you might have outgrown them, then your silence becomes proof of arrogance, because arrogance is what outgrowing looks like when you're the one being left. They didn't read your silence. They read their own fear and signed your name to it. Imagine this. A stranger walks into a coat check at the end of the night and sees a coat that looks like the one they lost years ago. Same color, same cut more or less. And they decide with total certainty that it's theirs. They put it on. They button it. They tell the room, "This is mine. I'd know it anywhere." And they walk out into the cold wearing a coat that was never theirs, warmed by something that belongs to somebody else entirely, absolutely convinced. The coat, of course, says nothing. Coats don't argue. It just goes along, keeping the stranger warm, while its real owner stands somewhere else in the night, uncorrected, unbothered, free. That is the word they put on you. A coat they were sure they recognized, buttoned onto a silence that was never what they thought it was. And here is what I need you to feel. You don't have to chase them down the street to get your name back. The wrong key never turns, and the wrong coat never fits. And both of those are true whether or not you ever say a word. No, you didn't miss a step. No, you didn't go too far. You left a silence, and other people's fear rushed in to name it. That naming is theirs. It was always going to be theirs. Let it be theirs. That is why they seem so certain and you feel so unseen. You are watching a coat get worn that you never handed anyone. Number 2. Arrogance is the cheapest explanation, so they buy it first. Of every word they could have reached for, they grabbed the one on sale. I told you already that arrogance is cheap. Now I want you to see exactly how cheap, because the price of a word tells you everything about the person paying it. There is a whole shelf of explanations for why a person goes quiet, and they run from cheap to expensive. On the expensive end are the words that cost the speaker something. Maybe he's grieving. Maybe I hurt him. Maybe we asked too much of him for too long, and he finally has nothing left to give. Those words are expensive because they implicate the person saying them. They require humility or guilt or the willingness to have been part of the problem. And then, all the way down at the bottom of the shelf is arrogance. It costs nothing. It implicates no one but you. It is the discount explanation, and frightened people always shop the discount rack first because they cannot afford the truth. The truth, for them, is too expensive. The truth would mean admitting that your silence might be their doing, or worse, that it might have nothing to do with them at all, that you simply stopped orbiting them and started orbiting your own life. Here is the mechanism. People do not choose the most accurate explanation. They choose the most affordable one. And the most affordable explanation for a silence they don't understand will always be the one that makes them the victim of your attitude rather than the cause of your withdrawal. Imagine this. A doctor who is in a hurry, who has 40 patients waiting and no time to think, hears one symptom and reaches instantly for the most common diagnosis on the chart. He doesn't run the test. He doesn't ask the second question. He writes down the easy answer because the easy answer clears the room and lets him move on. And most of the time, the easy answer is even right. which is exactly why he keeps doing it. But every so often, the easy answer is catastrophically wrong, and the real thing goes untreated, growing quietly underneath a label that was chosen for speed instead of truth. They reached for arrogance the way that doctor reaches for the common cold, not because they examined you, because they were in a hurry to stop thinking about you. You might wonder whether you should just tell them the real reason, set the record straight, hand them the accurate word. You cannot make someone pay a price they've decided they can't afford. The fact that they chose the cheap word tells you they were never going to buy the real one. The wrong key never turns, chosen one. And you cannot fix a lock by explaining it to the person holding the wrong key. Here is the line they can't say out loud. They didn't pick arrogance because it fit you. They picked it because everything that actually fit you would have cost them too much to say. Number 3. The wrong key means they will never reach the real you. They diagnosed the lock wrong, so every approach they try is aimed at a door that isn't there. This is the part where the misread stops being an insult and starts being a wall. A wall you didn't have to build. Follow this closely. Once they decided your silence was arrogance, everything they do next is designed for an arrogant person. Not for you, for the character they invented. And a strategy built for the wrong person always misses. Think about how you handle someone you've decided is arrogant. You wait for them to fall. You look for the crack in the ego. You expect them to overreach, to need the spotlight, to crave the validation, because that's what arrogance does. It feeds. So they watch you, and they wait for the hunger to show. They wait for you to brag, to compete, to need to be seen winning. They wait for the insecurity that arrogance is always secretly made of, and it never comes. Because you were never arrogant. You were quiet for a reason that has nothing to do with ego, so the ego-shaped trap they've set catches nothing, night after night. They are hunting an animal that doesn't live in these woods. Imagine this. Someone is handed a map to find a person, and the map is wrong. It shows a river where there's a mountain, a village where there's an empty field. They set out completely confident, following the map exactly, and every landmark they expect fails to appear. They arrive at where the house should be and find only grass. They walk to where the bridge is marked and find a cliff. And here is the thing. Because they trust the map, they never conclude the map is wrong. They conclude the person moved, or hid, or tricked them. They spend the whole journey blaming the territory for not matching the paper. They will wander that map for years before they admit the simplest thing. It was never a map of you. That is what the word arrogance is. A wrong map. And every plan they build on it leads them to a field where they expected a door. You might wonder if this ever corrects itself, if they'll eventually notice the map is wrong. Some will. Most won't, and here's the mercy of that. As long as they're following the wrong map, they are not anywhere near the real you. Their whole attention is pointed at a person who doesn't exist, which means the actual you, the tender part, the true reason, the thing you were protecting when you went quiet, stays completely out of their reach. The wrong key never turns, and while they keep trying it, the real door stays shut, and you stay safe behind it. Here is the line they can't say out loud. They keep aiming at the person they invented, and the real one keeps walking free right past them. Number 4. The misread is camouflage you didn't have to paint. Being seen wrong is a kind of not being seen at all, and there is safety in that. Now we arrive at the first real gift buried in this thing, chosen one. and I want you to slow down and take it. When people decide you are arrogant, they stop looking closely. That is what a label does. It ends the looking. Once they have their word for you, they file you and move on. They think they know the whole story, so they stop reading. And a person who has stopped being read is a person who has been handed privacy for free. You spent years, maybe, wishing people would understand you, wishing they'd see the real reasons, aching to be known accurately. I understand that ache. But there is a strange protection in being misunderstood by people who were never safe to be known by in the first place. Their wrong story about you is a fog you can move through unseen. While they're busy watching the arrogant character they invented, the real you gets to build, heal, rest, and grow without an audience leaning over your shoulder narrating every move. Imagine this. A deer stands perfectly still in tall, dry grass, and a predator moves along the tree line, scanning, hungry, sharp-eyed. And the predator's whole hunting instinct is tuned to motion, to the flinch, the bolt, the panic. Stillness reads to it as absence. So its eyes slide right over the deer again and again, registering nothing but grass, because the deer refuses to give it the one thing it's looking for, which is movement. The deer isn't hiding behind anything. It's hiding behind its own stillness. The very thing that looks like it should make the deer more visible, standing out in the open, not running, is exactly what makes it disappear. Your silence is that stillness, chosen one. They expect the guilty flinch, the defensive bolt, the panicked explanation. When you give them none of it, when you just stand there calm in the open, their instinct slides right over you, because they don't know how to see a person who won't move for them. They called it arrogance because they needed a word, but functionally, in the field, it works as camouflage. You are standing in plain sight, and they cannot find you. You might wonder whether you want to be invisible to them, whether it wouldn't be better to be seen and understood. Ask yourself honestly who is doing the looking. If the people trying to see you clearly are the same people who chose the cheapest word for you the moment you got quiet, then being unseen by them is not a loss. It is a wall between you and a kind of attention that never once helped you. The wrong key never turns, and while they can't turn it, they also can't get in. And there is a deep peace in a house that the wrong people cannot enter. Here is the line they can't say out loud. They think they've exposed you, and they've only lost sight of you. Number 5. A person they've dismissed is a person who reveals himself. The moment they wrote you off, they lowered their guard, and lowered guards drop things worth picking up. Here is something that happens the instant someone decides you're arrogant and therefore beneath their concern. They relax around you. They stop performing. They stop managing what they let you see. Because you're not a threat anymore in their mind, you're just the guy with the attitude, someone to be tolerated and gossiped about, not genuinely reckoned with. And a person who has stopped reckoning with you will show you things they'd never show someone they respected. Watch what happens. They'll say things in front of you they'd never say to your face if they thought you were listening as an equal. They'll reveal their real opinions, their small cruelties, their alliances, their fears, precisely because they've decided you don't count. The dismissal that felt like a demotion is actually a front row seat. They've taken you off the guest list, and in doing so, they've stopped cleaning the house before you arrive. You get to see them exactly as they are. Imagine this. A thief believes a house is empty. The owners are away, he's sure of it. The The lights are off, the car is gone. So he moves through it without any of the care he'd use if he thought someone was home. He talks out loud. He turns things over. He shows his whole method, his whole face, his whole intent. Because who's watching an empty house? But the house is not empty. The owner is home, sitting quietly in a dark room, saying nothing, watching a person reveal every single thing about himself under the belief that no one is there to see it. The thief's confidence that the house is empty is exactly what makes him careless. And his carelessness is the owner's entire advantage. You are the house, chosen one. They think it's empty because the lights are off, because you've gone quiet, because they've decided there's no one worth performing for behind those windows. The silence they mistook for arrogance turned you into the one person in the room who gets to see them with the mask down. You might wonder if it's dishonest, letting them believe the house is empty. It isn't. You never told them it was. You simply stopped keeping the lights on for people who only came to take. The wrong key never turns, and the man trying it has no idea you're standing right there, memorizing his face. Here is the line they can't say out loud. They stopped guarding themselves the moment they decided you didn't matter, and now you know things about them they can never take back. Number 6. The word does your filtering for you. The story they tell about you sorts your life into keep and discard without you lifting a hand. Pay close attention here, because this one is doing more work for you than almost anything else, and it's completely invisible while it happens. When the word arrogance goes out about you, it travels. And here is the beautiful mechanism. Everyone who hears it reacts, and their reaction sorts them. The shallow ones, the ones who were only ever with you for the performance, hear arrogant and nod and drift away, relieved to have permission. And the real ones, the few, hear arrogant and something in them frowns and says, "That's not the person I know." And they stay. They lean in closer. The word is a sieve. You didn't build it, they built it, but it strains your entire social world for you, catching the ones who leave at the first ugly rumor and letting the ones who stay fall through into your real life. It does in a week what would have taken you years of disappointment to do by hand. Every person who abandons you over a word they heard secondhand has just told you exactly how much they were ever worth to you, which is to say, not the price of a single conversation. Imagine this. A net with a particular size of mesh gets dragged through the water, and the net doesn't decide anything, doesn't judge, doesn't choose. It simply lets everything smaller than the mesh pass through and holds everything larger. Pull it up and you have, without any effort of sorting, exactly the fish worth keeping and none of the ones that were never the point. The mesh did the deciding. All you had to do was set the size and pull. The rumor about your arrogance is a mesh, chosen one, and it was set by people who thought they were hurting you. And all it actually does is let the small ones swim off and hold the ones with weight. You might wonder if it hurts to watch people leave over a lie. It does, for a moment. But grieve them lightly, because what you're watching is not loss, it's sorting. Anyone who could be turned against you by a single cheap word was already gone. The word just made it visible. The wrong key never turns. And the people who believed you were the arrogant character were never going to unlock anything real with you anyway. Let the net do its work. Look at what's left in it. Here is the line they can't say out loud. They spread the word to cost you your people. And all it did was show you which ones were never yours to lose. Number 7. Your silence keeps the real reason sealed. The truest thing about why you went quiet is the one thing they'll never get to hold. I want you to notice something precious that your silence has done. It has kept your real reason private. Think about what you were actually carrying when you went quiet. Maybe it was a grief you didn't want to hand to people who'd handle it carelessly. Maybe it was a plan you didn't want to explain before it was ready. Maybe it was a wound you were finally letting close, and every conversation about it would have torn the stitch. Maybe it was simply the sacred, ordinary fact that you had decided your inner life was no longer available for public comment. When they read that silence as arrogance, they walked away with the wrong word. And in walking away with the wrong word, they left the right one behind, still yours, still sealed. If you had defended yourself, if you had explained, you'd have handed them the real reason. And they would have done with it what they always did. Turned it over, weighed it, used it, repeated it at the next dinner. But you didn't. You let them take the cheap word and leave the true one in your keeping. The misread bought you the privacy you needed at the exact moment you needed it most. Imagine this. A sealed letter comes back, stamped "Return to Sender," and it goes back into the drawer, unopened. And everyone who handled it in transit, every sorter and carrier who held that envelope, formed some idea of what was inside based on its weight, its handwriting, the address, and every one of them was guessing, and none of them ever knew, because the seal was never broken. The words inside stayed the private property of the only two people they were ever meant for. The whole postal system touched that letter, and not one hand read it. That is your real reason, chosen one. Handled by many, opened by none, sealed by your silence. You might wonder if it's lonely, carrying the real reason alone while they walk around with the wrong one. Sometimes. But there is a difference between lonely and private, and you are learning it. Lonely is when no one could know you. Private is when you decide who gets to. The wrong key never turns, and the sealed letter stays sealed. And the truth of why you went quiet remains yours to give to someone worthy, someday, on your terms, instead of leaking out under pressure to people who'd only spend it. Here is the line they can't say out loud. They think they read you, and they never broke the seal. Number 8. Correcting them would cost you the very thing the misread protects. The moment you defend yourself, you hand back everything the wrong word was quietly guarding. Now here is the trap, chosen one, and I need you to see it clearly, because everything in you wants to walk right into it. The trap is the urge to correct the record. It feels righteous. It feels like justice. Set them straight. Explain that it was never arrogance. Show them the real reason so they'll finally understand. That urge is loud, and it dresses itself up as honesty and self-respect. But look at what it would actually cost. If you defend yourself, you reopen the case they already closed. You invite them back into an inner life they had mercifully stopped examining. You hand the real reason, the grief, the plan, the wound, the sacred private thing directly to the people least equipped to hold it. You trade the camouflage for exposure. You trade the sealed letter for an open one. You give them back the very access that their misread had taken away from them. In trying to fix your reputation, you would demolish your protection. And here is the cruelest part of the trap. It wouldn't even work. People do not release a cheap conclusion because you argued well. They dig in. Your defense becomes new evidence. See how worked up he got? Guess it hit a nerve. Guess we were right. The very act of correcting the word feeds the word. Arrogance, once assigned, reads your calm as arrogance, and your protest as arrogance too. There is no sentence you can say that the wrong key will not turn into more proof of the wrong lock. Imagine this. A man notices a single loose thread on his sleeve, and it bothers him, and he pulls it to tidy himself up. And the thread doesn't snap clean, it runs. It keeps coming, and the more he pulls to fix the look of it, the more the whole seam unravels, until he's standing there having turned a thread nobody would have noticed into a hole nobody can miss. The garment was fine, the thread was cosmetic. His need to correct it is what destroyed it. That is what defending yourself does, chosen one. The misread was a loose thread you could have simply left alone, worn without a thought. Pulling it is how you turn a word into a wound. You might wonder whether staying silent means letting a lie win. It doesn't, and here's why. The lie only wins if you needed those people to think well of you. The day you stopped needing that is the day the lie lost all its teeth. The wrong key never turns, and you do not owe anyone the correction that would hand them the key. Let the thread lie flat. Wear the coat they misnamed. It's keeping you warmer than they'll ever understand. Here is the line they can't say out loud. They're waiting for you to defend yourself, because your defense is the only thing that could bring the wrong story back to life. Number 9. Their story becomes the gate you never had to guard. The rumor they send out ahead of you turns away exactly the people you didn't want at the door. Something quietly powerful happens when a word about you travels ahead of you into rooms. It arrives before you do. It sets the temperature, and the people who are repelled by that word, the ones who hear he's arrogant and decide, without meeting you, that they'll keep their distance, those are, almost without exception, the exact people you would have wanted to keep at a distance anyway. It stations itself at the entrance to your life and turns away the ones who were only ever going to cost you. Think about who actually recoils from a rumor of arrogance. Not the secure, not the substantial. Secure people meet the rumor with a shrug and their own eyes. The ones who recoil are the ones who need everyone around them to be small and available. The ones who are threatened by the very idea of a person with boundaries. So when your reputation for arrogance keeps those people out, it is doing precisely the gatekeeping you were too kind to do yourself for years. The word became a bouncer. It works the door for free. And it only turns away the people who were never good for the room. Imagine this, a field with a sign at the gate, and the sign says something a little forbidding, private, or beware, or no trespassing. And most people, seeing it, decide the field isn't worth the trouble and walk on by, which is fine because they were only ever going to trample it. But every so often someone stops at that sign and reads it and thinks, that doesn't scare me, I'll knock and ask. And those are the ones worth letting in, because they cared enough to test the sign instead of just believing it. The forbidding word on the gate doesn't keep out the worthy, it keeps out the careless. It filters for the ones willing to look past a sign to the field itself. You didn't hang that sign, chosen one. They did. They painted arrogance on your gate, hoping to isolate you. But all a forbidding sign really does is thin the traffic down to the ones who bother to look closer. And those are the only ones you ever wanted walking your field in the first place. You might wonder whether good people might be scared off too, whether you're losing potential friends to a word. A few, maybe, at the edges. But the ones meant for your life have a way of not believing the sign, of trusting their own read over the crowds. The wrong key never turns, and the people who take the rumor at face value were handing you a favor by staying out. Let the gate do its work. Watch who knocks anyway. Here is the line they can't say out loud. They meant the word to leave you alone, and it only left you with the ones worth having. Number 10. When the truth surfaces, the misread becomes their embarrassment. Every wrong word has an expiration date, and when it comes due, the cost lands on the one who spoke it. Here is where time enters the story, chosen one, and time has never been on their side in a thing like this. A misread is a bet. When someone calls your silence arrogance, they are betting that the arrogant story will hold, that nothing will ever come out to contradict it, and they place that bet loudly, publicly, confidently. But truth has a way of surfacing on its own schedule. The grief becomes known. The plan comes to fruition. The wound heals, and the reason you went quiet becomes plain to anyone paying attention. And on that day, every person who bet on arrogance is holding a losing ticket in public. Watch what happens to them then. It is not you who gets embarrassed. It is the ones who were so sure. Because they didn't just privately misjudge you. They announced it. They told the room. They staked their own judgment on the cheap word. And when the true word finally shows, the room remembers who called it wrong, and remembers how confidently. The misread doesn't just fade, it curdles into a mark on the one who made it. The person who said he's just arrogant becomes the person who couldn't tell grief from pride, couldn't tell depth from ego, couldn't read a person standing right in front of them. Imagine this. Someone at an auction bids loud and early on a painting, certain it's a forgery, sneering at it, telling everyone around them what a worthless fake it is, delighted to look like the only clever one in the room. And then the expert comes, and the light gets adjusted, and the signature in the corner turns out to be exactly what everyone hoped, and this one person swore it wasn't. And now the whole room turns, not to the painting, but to the person who was so loud about it being fake. The painting was always what it was. It never changed. All that changed was that the light came up, and the loud, wrong voice got left holding its certainty in front of everyone. That is the misread's future, chosen one. You are the painting. You just have to keep being what you are and wait for the light. And when it comes up, and it always comes up, the people who called your silence arrogance will be the ones standing exposed, holding a verdict that aged into their own humiliation. You might wonder whether it's bitter to want that day to come. It isn't bitterness, and you don't even have to want it. It comes on its own. This is not you plotting revenge. It's you understanding physics. The wrong key never turns, and a wrong word, spoken with confidence, always eventually turns on the mouth that spoke it. You don't lift a finger. You just let time develop the picture they were so sure they'd already seen. Here is the line they can't say out loud. They bet everything on your silence being arrogance, and the day the truth shows, they're the ones who look like fools. Number 11. Only the ones who need you rattled call your calm arrogance. The read tells you nothing about your silence, and everything about the person reading it. I want to hand you a tool now, one you can use for the rest of your life. When someone reads your calm as arrogance, they have just told you something crucial, not about you, about themselves. Because a peaceful person does not look at another person's peace and see an insult. Only someone who needs you agitated is disturbed by your stillness. Only someone who was relying on your reactivity feels robbed when you stop reacting. The word arrogance applied to your calm is a confession that they needed you rattled and you stopped cooperating. Think about it precisely. Your silence is neutral. It's just quiet. It has no content until someone assigns it a meaning, and the meaning they assign comes entirely out of their own need. The person who needed you defensive reads your calm as cold. The person who needed you small reads your steadiness as arrogance. The person who needed you available reads your boundary as ego. In every case, the ugly word is not a description of you. It is an X-ray of what they wanted from you and didn't get. You have, without meaning to, built a machine that shows you exactly who needed you weak. It's the people using the ugliest words. Imagine this: a still pond on a windless morning, perfectly flat, giving back the sky. And two people stand at its edge. One looks at the stillness and feels calm, because calm recognizes calm. The other looks at the exact same water and feels uneasy, even angry, because they needed to see their own reflection moving, needed a ripple to prove they had an effect, and the flat water gives them nothing back but the sky. The pond didn't do anything to either of them. It was just still, but the stillness sorted them instantly into the one at peace with peace and the one who needed to disturb it to feel real. Your calm is that pond, chosen one, and every person who calls it arrogance has just walked up to still water and gotten angry that they couldn't make it ripple. That anger was never about you. It is the sound a person makes when they realize they've lost the ability to move you. You might wonder how to tell the difference between fair feedback and this. Here's how. Fair feedback wants you to grow. This wants you to shrink. Fair feedback is offered to your face with care. This gets whispered behind your back with a word chosen to cost you. The wrong key never turns, and the people calling your peace arrogance are simply the ones who used to be able to